Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Monday Night Raw review. And I've got a level with everybody listening. This is probably the first Raw in a long time where for virtually the whole 3 hours, save for a few segments, I was just left in an uncaring state about this Raw. And that's terrifying because this is the go-home Raw before Battleground this Sunday. But I just found myself completely unmoved in every aspect by this show. Ashton, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, the really horrifying thing is that, indeed, this was the go-home show. This was the WWE's go-home show equivalent to what not Extreme Rules, was it Extreme Rules? Yeah, Extreme Rule. What Extreme Rules was, because a lot of stuff happened, but nothing really happened.
Exactly. You know,
like with Extreme Rules, we were going into it with a bunch of set-up feuds and everything, and we were like, oh yeah, this is going to be so good. And then Extreme Rules happened, and it was a solid show, but then the next night on Raw, it was like it never even happened, because no storyline progression happened, nothing relevant actually changed, and we were just back to, a cog in the machine. It was just back to the status quo. And that's exactly what this Raw felt like. This Raw was so formulaic that I literally called out at least 3 different predictions, all of which were right. Not because I'm super good at predictions, which may be above average, but not exceptional or anything, but because it was just that formulaic and predictable. There
was just nothing on the show. And see, here's where it gets kind of weird, because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but everybody must be thinking, wow, John speaking so negatively about this Raw, he must have a full roster of heats of the night. No, quite the opposite. I didn't have a single one. But you see, in a way, in its own right, I think that's also a bad thing, because when we have heats of the night, that shows at least that we're responding to something. They may be negative feelings, but it's still a feeling that the product evoked within us. This product tonight, I was just like, the 3 hours dragged. Dude, they dragged so bad. And I just kept looking at the clock at different intervals, and I'm like, oh, thank God, it's 10:53, this Raw is almost over. I just did not care for this show at all.
Well, you know what, dude? You didn't have any heats of the night because you felt like the show overall was just boring and a drag. I had one heat of the night that I think caused the show to be that way.
Okay, lay it on us.
My heat of the night tonight is the exact same thing as my first heat of the night last week. Raw was too formulaic. All the same matches, all the same time slots. We even got Bo Dallas in a match in our semi-main event for the 3rd time, probably more than that, but 3rd time since I've been paying attention in a row. Everything is starting to feel like we're watching a show on repeat.
You know what the funny thing is, and this is going to seem so far out of left field, but I say it for a purpose, because I'm a big player of all the WWE video games that have come out over the years.
Right.
One of my favorite things to do was General Manager mode, where you would get to run your own show. They even tell you, as a rule, that you shouldn't put matches in the exact same place on a weekly basis, because it hurts their overall rating and fan interest.
Well, then apparently the creative team at EA is more creative than the creative team in WWE.
Right, though, because that's exactly my point. Like, this was advice from a freaking video game, keep in mind, totally detached from reality, and yet we're seeing that exact consequence play out on actual television.
John, let me put it this way. It's 2014, and we had a Ric Flair and Sting appearance, and it literally meant nothing.
Yeah, and you know what the shame of it was? The Sting appearance, I felt like could have meant something, because the crowd popped big. But it just soon turned into a whimper, because it was merely a video game advertisement. Why? In fact, if I had one heat of the night, that probably would be it. The handling of the Sting announcement. Why couldn't you make a big WWE.com exclusive out of that, or an app exclusive? Doing it on the live show will get the crowd amped up, and then I feel like they never really got back, at least for my money. They never really got fully back.
And you know what, dude? That would be my second heat of the night tonight, would be this frickin' crowd. This crowd, during the main event, when there were 5 men involved, including Roman Reigns, all the crowd could think to do was, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. And you know what? as tired and as worn out as John Cena as a character is, I don't think there's anything more tired and worn out right now than those frickin' chants.
I mean, to me, it's funny because I tired of those chants quicker than the what chants, and I know everybody's sick of those. It's ridiculous, Ashton. You had five guys in that match, and you could have said, for example, let's go Cena, let's go Roman, or, Kane sucks, Roman, and, do all these combinations of chants, but you go for that one. You go for the most blatantly obvious
And that's the thing. It doesn't even need to be a split chant. If you want to say, let's go Roman, clap, 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 clap. Whatever happened to the freaking clap pattern, man? Why does it always have to be dueling? And if it is going to be dueling chants, why does it always have to be focused, both chants, on one guy?
And then I hate how, I can't blame them for doing it, but I hate how WWE takes advantage of it. Nobody evokes a reaction from the universe quite like John Cena. Oh.
Well, yeah, but then again, nobody evokes a reaction from the universe quite like Zack Ryder either, but that's just because nobody else elicits quite as many cricket chirps as him.
Right, and nobody elicits quite a thunderous, just universal ovation like Daniel Bryan, but unfortunately he's out at the moment. I guess
And you know
me,
what, dude? It wasn't even just that. This crowd chanted boring at Bray Wyatt.
And then, you know what, though? I didn't, and see, it's hard for me to come down on fans because obviously, they pay their money. They should be able to do whatever they want within reason. But, they chant boring at Bray, but yet the moment they signal coming out, all the cell phones come out to be a part of it. So what is it? Do you find him boring, or are you entertained by him? I don't know. Maybe it's not as black and white as that, but I just found that a bit odd, that you chant boring 1 second, but yet you assimilate yourself with his entrance the very next second. I just found that puzzling.
I mean, the only credit that I would give this crowd is they ate it up when Zeb and Swagger did the We the People thing. And that's really the only positive thing that I can say about this crowd. And I mean, that is a very positive thing, but on that same note, it's also like an insult, because it's like, seriously, the only thing that you care about right now is your frickin' patriotism? Get over yourselves and get into this frickin' show.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Again, nobody really has a right to control how a crowd reacts to that or the other, but I do wish sincerely that they would pick more horses to back, or at the very least, in the case of Cena, maybe more horses to just crack the whip and just boo and just throw your hatred at. Maybe this is one of the reasons why we really can't have any
but
really
see,
great
now,
heel
and that's the
movies.
thing, though. The people that are cracking the whip, so to say, and throwing their hatred at Cena are just as guilty as the people that are cheering him. Stop focusing on John Cena.
Right, it's been said countless times. It's a timeless argument. When you throw your hate at Cena, when you buy the Cena sucks T-shirts, when you direct all that negativity, at him, instead of directing more positivity to somebody else, which weakens Cena more in the long run, but when you go through the tactics that we're discussing, it just puts more money in Cena's pocket, and he's laughing at everybody all the way to the bank, and then all the way back to his house where he has a waterfall for a freaking swimming pool.
Right.
It's not phasing John Cena any, folks. I can guarantee you that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where if you hate somebody, ignore them. If you hate somebody, if you ignore them long enough, and now this doesn't necessarily apply to John Cena, but if you ignore them long enough, they'll eventually go away. But again, it doesn't necessarily apply to John Cena, because if you ignore him, nothing's going to change. But if you boo him, things are going to change for the worse, because the more loud you are, the more WWE wants to shove him down your throat.
Or at least get creative with your hatred at the very least. I don't expect it to go away, but can you at least up the ante a little bit? That's another reason why I love NXT fans. People were literally turning their backs to Bo Dallas when he was there and, having matches and competing. I thought that was clever. I thought, wow, what a statement that is by fans to really show their hate. I mean, turning their back when they paid, money to get those seats and attend and what have you. That's a statement. But to me, it's just the whole let's go Cena sucks thing is so tired.
Right. I mean, it's so funny because there are people out there that claim to hate somebody, whether it's a wrestler or somebody, and yet they spend more time talking about the one that they hate than anybody else.
Right. I don't understand that either. I've always found that to be a bit confounding from where I'm sitting. It's like, you hate this person, I get that, but then why don't we build somebody else up to take on that person you hate and take them out? That's why I was so proud of Daniel Bryan and the momentum he gained, because he beat John Cena clean at SummerSlam. If you were a legitimate Cena hater, that had to be one of the greatest moments of your life, because he lost clean. He was vulnerable, and for the WWE Championship, no less.
Yep.
That's really being proactive in the face of something you hate, at least in my opinion.
All right, so those are my two heats of the night. WWE being too formulaic and this freaking crowd tonight. So we can go ahead and move on then if you want.
All right, let's get through it, man. It's time, folks, for our Monday Night Raw review, and we open this Raw up with the champ, John Cena.
Yeah, we do. Every single show opens with either Cena or the Authority. Cena or the Authority. Well, formulaic as it might be, they opened up with Cena tonight. He came out to a pretty, I don't know, it seemed to lean more into the heat direction. It seemed like the crowd was more, I don't know, hating of John Cena than loving of him at this point. That would probably come around a little bit later on in the night. But regardless, Cena tells Richmond the champ is here, and talks about how we've got a feisty crowd tonight, tells everyone that a free preview of the WWE Network is up and ends at midnight. So apparently it's totally worth buying the network so that you can watch it, well, not buying, but getting a free preview of the network that you can watch for an hour, and not even that because Raw always overruns. So yeah, they kind of dropped the ball on that one, but regardless, Cena talks about how at Battleground the champ might just not be, and then he points to the area around his neck currently occupied by the titles here. He reminds everyone that he doesn't even have to get pinned in order to lose the title, and the next thing you know, Roman Reigns' entrance music hits.
Yep, Roman Reigns comes out, pretty much has a stare down with Cena. Cena kind of gives him a smirk, and pretty much tells him, I know what you did last week, when they were raising each other's arms, showing that you will not be ignored. He said, I wanted to thank you for helping me last week. I know you had your own reasons, but you had my back, and I appreciate it. And then he starts to go on about how they need to be a unified front, have a fortified stand against the Authority tonight. And Roman Reigns is just like, get to the damn point, John. And John kind of looks at him, he says,
Say what?
Say? Yeah, say what? And Roman Reigns said, get to the point, because all Roman Reigns really cares about, Ashton, is being the WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he pretty much says, he's going to do it. He'll go through everybody. Doesn't matter if it's Orton and Kane. He agrees with Cena that they should be taken out, but they're not going to take any of them out because Roman Reigns, again, is determined to be the champion. And they go back and forth. Seems like things are going to implode. But then, who of all people takes charge
but Titty
Dean
Master
Ambrose? Yeah.
Titty Master Dean Ambrose for the win.
Never forget that meme. Ever. He pretty much says...
Dude, here's the thing. WWE was in Japan over the weekend. I saw a Titty Master sign in a Japanese crowd.
Wow. Japanese fans rule.
Yeah, it has crossed over the seas, over the oceans, which makes far more sense, but everyone always says overseas anyway, so whatever. And, Japan now acknowledges who the true master of the titties is.
I want another Raw in Japan. I think Japanese crowds are awesome.
I know. Why would they go to Japan and not use that crowd and that energy for an episode of Raw?
That's how electric that would be, especially with the crowd.
How much better that would have been than the crowd we got tonight?
Oh, God, this crowd. But anyway, Dean Ambrose says, I know you guys are arguing amongst yourselves, trying to figure out who the prettiest girl at the dance is, but we need to focus, because no member of the Authority is going to take any of us out tonight. We're going to take them out. And Dean Ambrose says, he's got a plan, and they're going to come together, and they're going to do this. But then Dean gets some unsuspecting, or unexpected visitors, I should say, while he's cutting his promo trying to rally the troops.
All three members of the Authority. We've got Orton, we've got Rollins, and we've got Kane. And Orton was a little bit late. but they were still all three there. They beat the living crap out of Ambrose. They kicked him and punched him and just really just beat him down. And he was laying there, and next thing you know, he goes, "Is that all you got?" It was so good. And they beat him down a little bit more, and then Rollins hits a curb stomp on him, and it pretty much knocks him out. So there you go.
Yeah, it was a fantastic assault by the Authority. Loved that line from Ambrose. Loved it. Instead of groaning and huffing and puffing in pain, he's able to get that line out. Is that the best you've got? I mean, that's what it means to be totally BA. And for those of you who don't know, BA means badass. And Dean Ambrose exemplifies that trait. I've been loving him consistently week after week. The only tragedy here, as if it would be a shock to anybody given the severity of the assault, this would be the last time we'd see Dean Ambrose for the night. Personally, I think it was a brilliant use of Dean Ambrose, but I'd always want to keep a guy like that in my back pocket to close shows and whatnot, because, man, the pops he's been getting.
Yeah, I mean, and dude, the thing is, he ended up not showing up all night, which to me, that isn't going to do anything but make crowds even more ravenous wanting to see him.
Right, so I guess in a way it is a very smart tactic on WWE's part. You know, they know how over Dean Ambrose is. They want the crowd to want him, and it seems to be working.
I have my
to a
own
T.
little theory about that later, but we'll talk about that when we get to the main event.
All right, then, let's move on.